possible we could turn those headlamps down or off, preferably, please? Morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Is that a good? Yeah. My name's John Parkington. I'm an archaeologist, and my interests have always been in the history of hunter-gatherer people, the San people of southern Africa, and that's what I've spent my time doing. And I'm very interested in the continuities between the pre-colonial hunter-gatherer people and modern communities, and the connectivities and the continuities that we can find there. And it's my pleasure to introduce the panel that we have today. The focus is a book that Jose de Prada, sitting in the center, has brought out. It's one of several which result from his folk. He's a folklorist from Spain, and he's been interested in the stories that are still there in communities in the Karoo, but also in the Olifants River Valley, in the Cedarburg, and probably much more widely around southern Africa, and the continuities that he can find, and he'll talk about this from the past to the present. I'm really looking forward, and I've been fascinated over the last 15 years at what he's managed to find. One of Jose's most significant storytellers is Katriena Swartz, who's here, and Katriena will talk about her perspective on the survival of those stories. Very, very, very important. I well remember when Jose first realized, as it were, that the stories that he could hear from people like Katriena and her sister Magdalena were very reminiscent of the stories that had been there in the literature and that were recorded in the 19th century. Marlene is Katriena's daughter. So Marlene and Katriena will talk from the perspective, from the Karoo perspective of those survivals and those continuities. And Elias is interested in another survival, the survival of the real dance. And I was just talking now to Elias and to Jose. There are survivals in music, in dance, in storytelling, and so on, and perhaps other aspects, and that's really fascinating, and we hope to hear about that. So I'm going to ask I'm going to ask Jose to introduce the Fading Footprints book. It's a very interesting title because it has the element of continuity, but not complete survival, if you know what I mean. So it's a interesting. I don't know, you call it a metaphor or an analog. I'm going to ask Jose to talk from his perspective. Then I'll ask Marlene and Katriena to talk from their perspective, and then I'll ask Elias to talk. So if you don't need me, that's fine, but I'm here to add any continuity that you need. Yep. So Jose, over to you.
Thank you, John. This book is the result or distillation of 40 years of research, a research that began before I set foot in South Africa. As is explained in the book itself, I discovered the stories of the Karoo, the ones that were recorded in the 19th century, when I, by chance, serendipity, we could say, I found a book called Specimens of Bushman Folklore at the second-hand bookstore in Cambridge. I was quite young then, and then yes, I was fascinated by those stories, which were very, very strange stories. They were not the usual European stories. They follow different rules. They had completely different images, and that seduced me. And I persevered in reading them, even though the texts in English that were in that book are difficult, and the stories themselves, because of what I said, are also complicated to grasp. But when the more I got into them, the more seduced I was, and the more seduced I was also by the people who had recorded them. And they had recorded them from a series of men and one woman who had been brought to the Cape in the late 1860s as convicts to the breakwater. And this philologist and Willem Black and his sister-in-law Lucy Lloyd, they asked the governor to, Black was a linguist, also was studying African languages. He was the foremost authority then, and he asked the governor to bring some of these people to his home in Mowbray so he could learn the language and record the stories and the knowledge. And this story in itself, and how this family, this European family, bonded in many ways with these people at that time, which was really horrible times, especially for the San or Ham people. So it's amazing. It's a miracle in itself. So I eventually I came to South Africa after publishing a book of these stories in Spanish, and began doing, thanks to Pippa Scotness and also to John Parkington, who supported my work. I began to do field trips to the area where these people came from, which is where Katriena and Marlene come from, Brandvlei, more on the western side of Bushman land, then Kennard, more towards the Orange River, and Van Wyksvlei more towards the east. And I visited the places where another archaeologist called Janet Deacon had identified the locations of the exact places where these people had lived and that they had given to Blake and Lloyd. And so yes, and that was the thing. That was what I was doing. But when I was doing that, essentially surveying the sites for the archaeological remains, for the amazing rock engravings, for the wonderful landscape and what was going on it, which was reflected in the stories. I mean, the dawn, the twilight, the clouds, everything, and I was completely seduced also by that and the connection with the narratives. But then I saw the people that live in the townships that I found in the farms, and I saw that they were very similar to the people whose photographs are in the specimens of Bushman folklore. And at some point, and it was in 2011, I decided to interview, to bring a sound recorder and begin to talk to the people. And one of the first people I met there were Katriena and Marlene and other members of the Fansale family, who were really very generous to me, and they first performed real dance for me at the guest house at which we were staying, and then someone mentioned the storytelling, and Katrina's sister Magdalena, she told a story in rhyme, which really not even the Neil Rush, who was with us and knows some Afrikaans, could translate for us. But we then set an appointment, and it's all also in the book. And they began telling us about themselves, and they began then saying, Magdalena said that he was going to tell us the story of the Oma and the Liu, and that was really an epiphany for me. So what I realized then is that all the talk about the extinction of the Ham people or of the culture was really to be revised, because it didn't hold up. I mean, the stories were alive, the people were alive, and I found that very a relief for me, because I had the weight on me of the annihilation of the complete annihilation of the Tham people, and I could see that hadn't happened, and that there was a persistence. I prefer to call it persistence and continuity rather than complete eradication. And since then I have been studying that, and I find the stories that are told today by people like Katriena and Magdalena and other family members and other people around from Brandvlei to Van Beeksvlei and beyond, that they form an archive which is as important as the Black and Lloyd, and it tells us about the endurance of the human spirit, of resilience. I mean, how it's not a miracle. It's almost divine that these stories and this culture has been passed down in the difficult conditions in which people in the Karoo live now, and of course they live even in more terrible conditions in the past. So for now, I think that's perhaps enough.
Yeah. Thank you, Jose. Would you like to say one more thing about language, about how the stories have survived language loss? I mean, that seems to me to be
that's the
quite
thing. It's a cliche that when a language is lost, then a whole worldview is lost. The case of the Karoo, of the Tham languages, some language, it demonstrates that it's not true. I mean, a lot of things survive the loss of the language and survive the loss of the life style. The people now, they are not hunter-gatherers, but they tell the stories that their hunter-gatherer ancestors told. They hold beliefs also that the hunter-gatherer ancestors told, but they have been recast. They have been sort of reinvented in a way, to make them relevant to the present moment, or to the present situation. So I was talking now with Elias that the Afrikaans spoken in these areas has many Tham elements, and that it would be worth an in-depth linguistic study. So it's even the language is not completely gone. It's there in some way, as the people, as the stories, as the beliefs.
Yeah, and Katriena and Marlene, from your perspective, how did it feel to have this foreigner pitching up on your doorstep and being fascinated by the stories? What were your reactions to? Did you see it as an opportunity, or can you tell us something about how you responded?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Jose. Me looking back now at 2010, 2011, 2012, when the story thing began with our family. Back then, I didn't see it as much because we were all still together. Magdalena was there, my mother's elder sister, who told the stories with her, who told the story of the Oma and the boy. And looking back now, in the year of 2026, all of them, they are gone now. So now I see these stories as the real treasure that they really are. Looking back in my family history, I'm of a younger generation, but Opa and Oma, they told the stories to my parents, and then they told the stories to us. And we grew up in a time where phones and television and internet, it wasn't there. So we were listening to stories, and you are not able to forget what your parents taught you. And we grew up on a farm where there was no electricity at the time, back in the early 19-somethings. So, but today, I'm looking at my children. They are sitting in front of the television, they have cell phones, they have wireless internet connections. So it's different for them. But for me now, as I've said, I've lost the most of my family. It's only Katriena and a brother, Klaas. He's also a storyteller that is left of 11 children that my grandparents had. So now I see the real treasure in this. You've asked if back then I saw it as an opportunity. No, not back then, because I was still a child also, in my early 20s or some things. But now I'm married, I have my own children, I have my own house, and now I'm grateful. And today I also want to say here that this moment, I would like to pay tribute to my aunt Magdalena Bekes, who was a storyteller, she was the entertainer. Sy was nie skaam gewees nie, sy het gedans, sy het gelag, sy het rympies opgesê, soos ou sy vermeld het. Sommige van dit kon jy nie lekker verstaan nie, maar daar was iemand wat die taal kon opneem. En vandag wil ek hier sê dat Magdalena, hierdie is ook jou oomblik. Ons het ver gekom met storievertelling en jou stories is vasgevang in 'n boek en ek gee vandag eer. Dankie dat jy nooit opgehou het om stories te vertel nie en ons is trots op jou. I thank you.
And Katriena?
Yes, goeiemôre aan elkeen. Ek is Katriena Swartz. Soos my dogter nou dit verklaar het, dat ek en Magdalene was sisters en sy was so 8 jaar ouer as wat ek is en maar ons was baie lief vir stories en dans en sy het rympies en daai tipe goed nog bygesê. Ek is 'n bietjie teruggetrok en skaam om voor baie mense ouer jy raak, daar raak jy meer gemakliker. Maar sy was as kind al so, ons was gesin van 8 en van die 8 is 3 nog oor wat lewe. Maar dit is vir my wonderlik en ek wil vandag ook dankie sê aan gesê wat eintlik belang gestel het aan hierdie stories, nie net aan ons stories nie, maar aan die Boesmanland Karoo stories, want dit is so eie aan ons mense daar, vir al die ouer mense, ons is ouer mense, bo 60, 70, begin uitsterf. Soos sy gesê het, genoem het, ons het die televisie en die tipe goed gehad, so hierdie, die stories, die real musiek, dit was deel van ons. Dit was, ons het by mekaar gekom en ons was net happy. Ons grootouers, ek het nie regtig my oupa hulle geken nie, toe ek groot raak, toe hulle al gesterwe, maar my paale, dit was beautiful, my broers, ek dink om Elias ken vir Piet en Gert baie goed, hulle twee is ook al gesterwe, want ek dink, ek weet nie, of het hier is wat hulle CD kom opneem het, van die real dans en Gert se vrou, en die musiek leef nog in Brandvlei, en ek hoor dag vir dag, nou nie elke dag nie, maar jy kan hoor hoe mense dit speel, en dit waardeer, en om weer kinders as ander mense, en waarvoor ek dankbaar is, wat die real aan die lewe hou. Ja, die storie vertel, is 'n bietjie of dit bietjie wegkwyn, want daar's ander goed wat dit kom vervang het, soos die televisie, die internet, die fone, selfone. Ek maak so rusie met daar 2 seuns, want hulle bly met die fone, maar dis nou weer goed vir hulle, want hulle leer en hulle ontwikkel daardeur. Maar ek het gesien na my suster Magdalena se afsterwe, of toe sy weg is, hoe haar seun en haar kleinkind, die boek, haar storie, toe maak hulle dit hulle sinne, waar hulle voorheen, toe sy daar gewees het, nie so belang gestel het, of so aandag daaraan gegee het, maar na sy weggeval het, toe hulle die boek, want hulle sien hulle ma daar, hulle hoor die stories, hulle weet van dit, maar dis nou meer vir hulle kostbaarde. So ek is bly aan julle wat dit in boek opgetekend het, en dat dit kan uitgegee word, dat ander mense dit kan lees, en ek glo dit sal voortleef, want ek wil nie graag hê dit moet uitsterf, of mense moet daarmee ophou nie, want dit lê my baie na in die hart, ja.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very interesting that in the 1860s and 70s, when Wilhelm Blake and Lucy Lloyd were talking to the people, they also expressed great happiness. I mean, the prisoners could see that what they were what they were offering, what they were contributing, was going to be much more widely disseminated, and they were so excited about that. So it's great. I'm worried, and maybe we could bring Elias in here, because not only the stories but the dances and perhaps the music as well. To what extent it sounds like the Katriena, Magdalena, Marlene family very actively retaining the stories and passing them on. But I wonder how widespread that is amongst families in the Karoo, and how widespread the survival of dance and music is. Elias, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, I was born in a small settlement. Actually, it's in a Kennard, Brandvlei and Verwijsvlei. Very informal settlement where I was born many moons ago. And I grew up there. And what actually interested me when I grow bigger is to see how the people, and most of them were illiterate, they could compose their own songs. Many, I'm talking about the real songs, many of them only have 2 lines or maybe 1 verse that they repeat over and over again. And the musicians, wow, like Gert and Piet, our brothers. Gert was a guitarist and Piet played banjo. And that lively type of thing that you get when you hear that music. And if you know the reel, you can't sit still. So I am actually trying to preserve the language and the reel, and I was so lucky that the Artikafia, when I proposed it to them, they said, no, but then you must come and work for us. And I started the reel dance competition in 2006, and it grew so much so that one of the groups participated in Los Angeles, and they become the world champions in the traditional folk dance. But the music, I was also afraid that the music would die out, and that's why I recorded just before I retired a CD with the real dancer, so that music could live on, and especially those with lyrics could also live on. But my main concern is also to that specific dialect of the Bushmaland. And all my stories are written in that dialect. There's many words that I don't know whether it's Khoi or whether it's San. Like for instance, the backward jackals, that saucer-eared jackal, small one. We used to call it a kaiki. And the bigger, the red jackal or fox was called a gape. So I grew up with many of that words. I got my father used to work on the farm Deur, which is also on the map. And that's where I grew up. Then we moved to Swartz, and from Swartz we moved to Kraaifontein, where I'm still staying. But I always had that feeling just to keep on with the reel. When we visit Swartz, you would always find me with the elder people dancing the reel. And I didn't know, because I was ridiculed with my peers, because they say I'm outdated. But what I didn't know is that I was actually prepared for the revival of the reel much later on in my life.
Yeah. And can I ask all of you whether are you confident about is the dancing, the music, the stories, are they in danger, or?
John, I wouldn't say that the stories are in danger anymore because of these books that were published, and with dancing the real stories goes hand in hand. Once a group of people get together, they get nice and jolly, they start dancing, especially in the dry seasons. We have a belief back there in Brandvlei, when it's dry, you dance a hole in the ground, and that hole will be filled with holy water. The rain will come after that, so I wouldn't say it's much in danger. And when your people gets together, they sit around the fires, then someone would say, oh, do you remember? Opa used to this and this and that, and Opa told us that, and Oma, and then the stories come. So I wouldn't say that these stories, they are in danger anymore. But they are in danger, definitely. This is our stories, this is our Karoo stories, this is our dances, and they will live on.
It's great to hear that.
Ja, ek sal dink die stories kan uitsterf, want daar is nie regtig meer mense wat die stories, of daar is mense wat dit vertel, maar die wat dit moet hoor, of is nie so geïnteresseerd, die jonger mense, en hulle is so besig met ander dinge, veral daar waar ons bly, dwelms vat oor in. Jy kan nie daai mens probeer iets leer of iets, want sy brein en sy gedagte strek net so eentjie, of ek weet nie tot waar nie. Ja, maar die ouer volke, die ouer mense, is sieklik en baie kan nie meer onthou nie. Hulle wil vir jou nog iets vertel, en so, en dis waaroor ek bid eintlik daarvoor, laat ek moet maar my geheue solank as kan behou, want my ouma, my ma van my ma se kant was 102 jaar, en voor sy gesterf het, sy kon vir jou stukke uit daar jong meisie daar uitgevertel het, en my verlange en begeerte is, ek wil so oud raak, en nou nie so oud nie, maar my geheue moet so goed bly. Yeah.
Thank you. I suppose there are some differences between the stories and the music and the dance in terms of their appeal to younger people, but it's great to see them all surviving. What how wide? I mean, we're talking about Swartz, Brandvlei, and so on. How widespread would you think these survivals, these continuities are?
Yes, especially with the reel dance, I was fortunate enough to, here in Cape Town, we have about 3 reel dance groups, and they had to learn from scratch. My brother's daughter is now driving the reel dance from Uitzig on the Cape Flats. And I had one in Eersterivier, and there's still one in Paarl that is quite active. But from the Cederberg, Citrusdal, Klein Willem, Vredendal, Butterfontein, and down Noordville, Calvinia, Brandvlei, Carnarvon, Walliston. There was also reel dance groups. Yeah. And there was this sort of eagerness to revive the reel. When I started the competition, I was actually aiming on the older people, but much to my surprise, it was the young ones who grabbed it with both hands. And okay, there's a lot of reasons. many of these people live in poverty, and they don't get a chance to get out of their town or whatever. And with the real dance, if all depends on how good your group is, that you will go to Calvinia, you will go to Carnarvon, to Glen William, and if you succeed, you will be in the final in Cape and Paarl.
Yeah, we've in the actor package we've seen the enthusiasm of those school real dance groups.
Yeah.
Jose, what are your feelings about the continuities and the relationship to the landscape? Because as Marlene mentioned earlier, it's a lot of these continuities are about continuities of place, of being in the place, in the Karoo, or possibly in some more narrowly defined location. But what do you?
I was very encouraged what Marlene said. I mean, I'm not the kind of pessimistic folklorist who says, "Oh, I arrived just in the nick of time. I saved this because it was about to disappear." When I arrived and began to do more extensive fieldwork after that first encounter, and then thanks to you, I did also fieldwork in the actor pacoys and in the Olifants Rivier. I could see that the tradition is very widespread, and it's very alive in itself. I mean, I don't see like an immediate danger, but then the social and political conditions and economical conditions are what they are, and the threat may come absolutely from that people, because the Karoo is getting drier, and then people have to, by necessity, to move out, and this sense of community may, in not such a distant future, may disappear, and those occasions when people gather to dance and to tell stories then may fade. I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen, but as I see it from a social perspective, the stories are very much alive, really, and are being passed on. And I don't think really the books are. I may contribute, I hope, to this persistence from now on, but not that necessarily they are that essential. And as for the how widespread these tradition, these stories are, I think there are many areas wherever there is a rural Afrikaans-speaking community. I think this kind of stories, many of them with Huizen elements, are being told, and there are there is music, surely dance, and so. But as I was telling Elias now, I mean, one would need many lifetimes to record that, or maybe like a greater awareness from universities and institutions in this country, so that it's not only me but other people that go and record and document these things. That would be really something much to be desired, and not because it's going to disappear tomorrow, but as it is today, it's not going to be as it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up, that the themes, although the themes of the stories may be still there, they're being reinvented, as it were, reconfigured to suit altered circumstances. Would I don't know if that's a conscious move amongst storytellers, but I know that you've noticed it as a story listener.
Yes, absolutely. It's yes, I mean, and then there is this attachment to play. The stories are very much emplaced, and it's part of the the place and the story go together, and gathering of people and storytelling and all forms of artistic sort of expression. They happen, and I want to stress that there is a specific culture in these areas. It's not something marginal. It's not something residual. It's a culture in itself that comes from a distant past, but we have it as we have it now. as it exists. That's how we can document it and enjoy it. But there is no doubt that it has very, very old elements in it. But then you find stories that can clearly be identified as European stories of European origin, but the stories of European origin that, like the one of the brother and the sister that Katriena told us in Cape Town in 2011 when she came for that conference at UCT. No, that is a very much a European tale, but it has been Africanized. It has been adapted to the Karoo, and that story has been in circulating in this part of the world for at least 300 years, and that's still a lot. But then there are others. The Oma and the Liu probably has been for a much longer period. So yes, I have faith that these stories will persist, that the relevance of them will continue, at least to make them change, continue, because they will change. The tradition has to be understood as something that changes.
Yeah.
Just with regard to the storytelling, from time to time I also hold workshops for younger people, and what I try to emphasize is you must talk to your grandma, to your grandpa, and the older people in your community, because if they are gone, the stories automatically is also gone. But just one story that I remember was from the Bushman or Sun chief who wanted the sun. So we sent some people and they brought the sun down and they put it on a hill, and then their problems start. They couldn't sleep because it's daylight. Those who were supposed to guard the sun, they burned it. So eventually the chief decided now they must put the sun back in the air again. That's the story in short, but what is so great about it is that we can draw a parallel with global warming today, where we as human beings also contaminate or scorch the earth. And that was for me the essence of that particular story.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would just like to add on that something about what Katriena said earlier. Somtyds verander die omstandighede in gemeenskappe so, veral soos in 'n klein gemeenskapie soos Brandvlei. Dit is nie meer soos in die verlede waar alles moeilik bekombaar was nie. Daar is skole op die dorp, daar is 'n hoërskool waar ons in my tyd ek het in die Weskaap my skoolloopbaan voltooi en hier het ek college gedoen en begin werk by die W&A Waterfront, teruggetrek Noord-Kaap toe. Maar waarop sy te neerkom is dat die omstandighede word soms so in die dorp dat ons hierdie tipe juwele miskyk. Ons mis hierdie gesinsoomblik. Ons mis hierdie by mekaar kom tye waar daar net tyd gewees het vir stories. Nou staar ons blind teen die omstandighede binne in die dorp. En soos hierdie afgelope 2 jaar in Brandvlei het ons construction projects daar gehad. Ons is nou besig, die route word gedoen tussen Brandvlei en Kennard. En met so influx into your town kom certain difficulties ook. Daar kom mense van buite af in. Ons het unfortunately die probleem van drug misuse daar onder ons jeugdiges. So, dit is wat sy op te neerkom. Jou omstandighede verander soms ook so dat dit lyk amper asof storievertelling en goed nou irrelevant word. Maar daar is 'n kultuur, soos ou sy gesê het, daar's 'n culture wat net daar bestaan. Die music is eie aan daardie area. The storytelling, it goes hand in hand with what we are, who we are, where we came from, and it shaped where we are going to. Our morals, our values, the ethical things that we do in life. Some of us, we took the good from it. Some of us, we stayed as blind to the circumstances of, now we are from a small town, people are illiterate, there's lack of opportunities, but someone like me who moved away from my hometown and became educated in the city of Cape Town, you now go back and you see it in a whole different light. Brandvlei is also a jewel. It's small. You don't even know where it is if you are from Cape Town. It's almost like a forgotten town, but there is great things also, and we choose to see the good in that place. We choose to see the good in the years that went by, but also the nearby future that is coming, and we are trying to tell our children and try to empower the community to do good, be good, and have a positive outlook on life. Dankie.
Could we, I think you know what we're all involved in. Are there some, briefly, because I don't know how much time we've got, some questions from the floor?
How did the people talk to each other? How did you and them, how could you understand each other? You
Okay.
come from Spain, okay, but you knew English. Did Katriena know in English?
Okay, that's a very good question, very relevant. I communicate via interpreters, and but when I first went to the Karoo in 2005, and then in 2006, I was very much on my own. In 2010, I was given a postdoctoral fellowship by UCT, by Pippa Scotness, and then my beautiful wife and I, who is a storyteller, by the way, we came to live, and then in preparation, I began to take Afrikaans lessons, but it was difficult to get a good instructor in Barcelona. And sorry, I found one, but then he left. He returned. He lived in Pretoria, and one day he was gone. So I know some basics of Afrikaans. When I listen to them to speak, I can get some things, but it's something that I would like to eventually to sort out. Yes, usually I take in interpreters, and they are very generous people. I must say that I always being overwhelmed by the generosity and the patience with which I have been greeted all over that world of the Karoo, I must say.
Thank you.
It's a very important issue, obviously. Not only literal translation, but understanding of different worlds that are communicating with one another. Yes.
Ik wil net sê aan die twee dames daar, I'm so proud of you. I just heard how passionately you were talking about Brandvlei. That is how you can be proud of the place. And I come also from a small town where we were all just removed. So, but you're still there. And the fact that you can talk about your roots, your footprints are there. Ja, en dit sal daar bly, dit sal nooit weggaan nie. Ek wil net sê ek is so bly ek het na hierdie sessie gekom. En ook aan die man wat van die reel dans. Ek het net 'n paar I just saw some in Hermanus, they were dancing there on the one time, and I was so proud of those young people. They were so full of energy, and the fact that it was something of their forefathers, and they were living it out, and they were bringing it to us who don't know about it, who've never been exposed to it. En net sê aan u, moet nooit opgee nie, en ons almal moet al die tyd daarvan weet, en dit moet ook in ons stede kom, waar ons, die drugs is daar, maar weet u, as die jong mense dit sien, en ons, dis onder ons, dan is daar is goeie goed wat uitkom. Net baie dankie.
Thank you.
Baie dankie.
Yeah.
Goeiemôre
question
almal.
from the back.
Ek is Donald Smiles daar van Middelburg in die Karoo. I've got a question relating to the title of your book, Osei. Thank you for doing the book, and thank you for involving Katriena and Auntie Katriena, by the way. Kan nie, dis deel van ons, Auntie Katriena. Marlene, jy is Marlene. Yeah. The question that I have was regarding fading footprints. Now, in your investigation and going around in Brandvlei, Van Wyksvlei, and those places, did you come across places like Wagenaarskraal, Kraalshoek, Oude Kraal, Gansekraal, Kokskraal? Because those places, in my mind, are the places where you would find the footprints of the First Nation. I'm making a statement, and I may be wrong, but I've got that strong feeling that all those places, towns, farms, ending with a kraal, that is where our First Nation was, or the footprints may be found there, including places ending in Fontaine. There's a story that Bloemfontein was coming from the Griqua people, including places like, as you went, or say, to the places ending in Vlei, Brandvlei, Van Wyksvlei, Sekoevlei, you name them. Those Vleis, Bo-Vlei, Ondervlei, those are names that are sort of in the storytelling come across when we hear those stories. Then the old man or old mama would say, ons het op Kokskraal gebly en ons het swaar gekry, toe kom ons maar Middelburg toe. Sankraal, naby Middelburg, all those places. I think maybe, I don't want to challenge you, already wrote a book. Jose, maybe there's some investigation into that area. Places, footprints where our people were.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much for this question and the information that comes with it. Actually, I am fascinated with place names in the Karoo, and beginning with the place names that were recorded by Blake and Lloyd in Ham. And also they gave often the equivalent name in as what the farmers call the same places. I actually want to go everywhere in the Karoo, no matter all the flays, all the kraals, everywhere. But the problem is I have limited means. But certainly place names are a guidance. Very often these place names are translations. Like, for example, Springbok Oog, the farm in near Van Wyksvlei, that I think is very much a Kham name, a translation, a direct translation of a Kham name, meaning a very strong spring. So yes, I've been attracted by place names, and I have compiled them. I think also it would be a worthwhile endeavor to make like a list or a glossary of all those places. Katriena and Magdalena told me in that first encounter about Verdwaalvlei, where the family comes. I always wanted to go there. I would go everywhere, but yes, I have limited means. But you are right. I mean, to tell the name of one of those places is to begin to tell a story.
Yeah, just on that, I'm busy at this stage with a list of words from the Bushveld especially. And then I want to give the Afrikaans meaning as well as the English meaning. Yeah, so we will do that. There's still much to research, but we can do that.
Yeah, and I must say that Swartz is a place. There's this old map that Cabo drew for Willem Blake, and Swartz is there.
We've got another question in the middle.
It's more like a comment, not there is a question at the end. You say, thank you so much for picking up that book and being inspired, and for your, it looks like it's been your life's work, this. And we in South Africa are the recipients of your passion in making this part of our cultural history. Thank you for that. Thank you for, you mentioned the word persistence in relation to them. Thank you for your persistence in doing this research. My question is, how has the research changed you? It's been coming over decades. How has it changed you? Did it change you in any way?
It changed me completely. Thank you very much for your very kind words. The words, they mean a lot to me. Yes, they changed my life, and they open intellectually new things, completely new things to me. They made a folklorist of me. I was studying then comparative literature. I did my first academic works on Herman Melville, for example, or Thoreau. Because I discovered that book in the haunted bookshop in Cambridge, I became a folklorist, and I was more of a generalist. I am still very much a generalist, but and I consider myself someone from this place and from this culture, and that it made a completely new me. I met my wife via the stories, because otherwise I wouldn't never have met her. So I owe to the stories from the Karoo everything that I am now. So it's very, we are very much of this place. My wife hadn't returned since 2019 for various reasons, and I'm very glad that now she could come along with me, because we have lived here together. We have many friends here, and we have still many places to visit, and I hope many stories to record.
We can take one more question, I think. There's a question here.
Have you got a question?
No.
Okay, we'll take one there and then you. Yeah.
Goeiemorgen. Good morning. Yeah, this is very interesting. I wonder, as far as your research is concerned, how far back could you go? Of dalk kan van die dames vir ons sê, that the first koi and son that you could discover, of Elias kan dalk ook vir ons sê, how far back could you discover that the first koi or son was there? I don't know if you're able to answer the question. Thank you so much. Very interesting, huh? Keep up with the good work. It's very important.
Thank you very much.
Dankie.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, Jose, but it sounds as though that may be more a question for the archaeologists than
Most a question for the archaeologists
or the historians. I mean,
thankfully, we have an archaeologist here.
Well, thank you. We probably need to talk about this because it might take months for me to answer your question. But it's what drives a lot of archaeologists in Southern Africa at the moment, is the question of how can one recognize identity in the past? Because obviously I don't dig up people's names. I dig up rather boring things that they've made or left behind, or even worse, actually, occasionally. But so how you get from these remains to identities is a very complicated question, but it is something that drives us along. Yeah. Thank you. I think we have one.
No, he cancelled his question. Sorry. Here's a comment from the back. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Good morning, everyone.
Can't see back.
In 100 years' time, these stories will still be there. There is, however, in my considered opinion, a dual challenge to all of us. The stories that are being created and or lived currently, those must also be recorded. So the work doesn't stop.
It never
But
stops.
Congratulations, and it's highly commendable for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It never stops.
It never stops. It's a work for
Yeah.
generations.
Yeah.
It's a work for a team. I have the feeling that I am doing this on my own. And I would like, as I said before, I mean, institutions, the Stellenbosch, UCT, they should be more people. I would be happy to share my knowledge of fieldwork with others so that they go and they visit different areas. I'm sure even close to Cape Town, in north of here, in those communities there, there are stories to be recorded. There are stories everywhere, but it's a work for many people, and then indeed it's a war forever. I mean, for generations and generations.
Thank you. Well, that seems like a promising note to end on. But there's a call for volunteers, for collaboration, for working together, not only with folklorists, but with archaeologists and with historians, and there is lots to do. I want to finish by thanking all of the panel members for being here and for contributing, and I want to thank you for also being here. Thank you. And I'm sure this is not the end of the kind of communication. It's possible, obviously, to carry on communicating with all of us in various ways. And thank you for the Gevel Foundation for setting this meeting up. It's been really important and interesting, and it's not finished. Thank you very much.